Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to What is Fabrizio Inking? And today I am inking this. It is a illustration of Shadow over Innsmouth. But before I start that, I have a comic book called Horace H. Hoover from Alterna Comics. Issues 1 and 2 are available at alternacomics.com. Sort of like a pulp, mystery, occult, detective with a little bit of humor. Check it out. Alright, so today I'm going to do some more of this drawing. This is on Blue Line, and I'm using Winsor Newton brush, number 2 and 3. But I will experiment a little bit with some microns, possibly. Maybe even a little bit of wash. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm keeping this pretty loose compared to my other stuff. It's a little bit of an experiment, so we'll see how that works out. Subject matter is a little bit different too. So it's nice to change things up when you're doing comic books. You're going to run into a lot of repetition. So you're doing the same characters, same locations, from issue to issue sometimes. And it's nice to really have a varied just atmosphere and tone, and sometimes technique between issues and even between pages. That's fun. So just to kind of go over it real quick, sort of like a New England city. It's from Shadow over Innsmouth, famous H.P. Lovecraft story. Highly recommend it. Essentially a town of fish people try to chase this guy down and make him one of their own. This is like a little montage. We have some fish people up front here, and then we have the main character sort of in water, just to drive home the story. So I've been jumping around a little bit. I'm going to work on this guy over here for a bit. And again, I'm going to try and keep this pretty loose. But that doesn't mean messy, it just means I'm not going to be overly concerned about really fine detail, at least at this stage. I'm just going to be putting in some basic shapes, basic shadows, and then towards the end, if I need to refine things, I can always come back and do that. Even with whiteout, although I'm not a huge fan of whiteout for inking. If you can avoid whiteout, I highly recommend it. You'll never get the same feel from whiteout. I mean, you can try acrylics and you can try all sorts of different covers, but it's just not going to glide and feel the same as regular untarnished paper would. So if I can avoid whiteout, I definitely do. I'm not really trying to mimic any particular style or anything like that for this. Again, it's experimentation, so just kind of want to see where the drawing takes me and try out some new techniques maybe, or not new, but lean heavily on some techniques that I don't employ quite as much in my comic book. And then I can, oh, I'm off the page here. Then I can usually kind of see where that'll fit in my story, my characters. Maybe it's a location that has a little different approach to it. Maybe it's a particular issue that has subject matter that would be more appropriate for different kinds of techniques as well. So you gotta experiment. You gotta see what works. Repeating yourself over and over, I think, is a terrible idea. You want to have a style to some degree, but you don't want to get into a rut. You want to make sure that everything that you're doing is still headed in a direction, not just a production. And by that I mean it's not just a literal product that you're creating. Every issue really should have an eye towards, okay, where do I want my artwork to be in a few years? And how can I use what I'm currently doing to get there? So for me, you know, I definitely want to refine my current style. Nick Welch, hey, how's it going? I mean, feel free to make it look easy, bro. Your hand is so smooth. How's it going? It's awesome about Samurex, man. Yeah, I have to admit, it's probably one of the most visually, like, impressive things I've seen in a long time. I love the treatment of the colors, and it's really big and bold looking. The more like time goes on, the more I'm convinced that colors are kind of the trick, or a big part of it. I mean, that's really why for my book, my colors are pretty intense, and now I can't even imagine it any other way, and I feel like it would be kind of be a disservice to pull the colors back. At least for some things. Obviously, it doesn't apply for everything, but if you get those colors right, man. Big and bold, just like me. I always think it's funny whenever I think about going to school for art. And I mean, it was fine art, so they were kind of hoity-toity. And I think about, 20 years later, if I talk to my professors or something, and they're like, so, what are you working on? I'm like, fish people. I love drawing fish people. I actually did do a sculpture. This was in clay of like an Innsmouth look. I didn't get a chance to like do a mold or cast of it, but it was kind of like a funny little. It was just a funny little fish guy. The colors on your book are perfect. Has instant brand, which is clearly something I'm striving for. Thank you, and same with you. Seriously, super, like immediately recognizable. Like as I'm scrolling through Instagram, like I don't even have to stop, and I can tell it's your stuff, which is really cool, especially nowadays when there's so much out there. And also too, I look at a lot of old stuff. I mean, I grew up on the old stuff, but I'm constantly still referencing it, and I can't get over like the simplicity of colors, but yet everything reads so nicely, and it's just everything's intense. And the thing is, you could even have a whole shot of like a bunch of heroes, and some of the heroes still have the same color scheme, and it still works. You know, Spider-Man and Captain America, red and blue, etc., etc. It just goes to show how good they were at spot and blacks and just overall composition. That a lot of people would just look like a mess, basically. I used to get really self-conscious about like large areas of black because I would see so many artists do that. I mean, Mignola is obviously the first one that comes to mind or whatever, but lots of artists do a lot of black in their artwork, and I don't want to say never, but I rarely go solid black. I always leave a little white, and I just realized I guess that's my thing. Because I'm like, all right, I'm just going to try to do these big solid blacks everywhere. It just did not go with the rest of my stuff. Yeah, I really want to get more positive, negative, big blacks, a la Mignola and Miller and Victor Santos, but I can't get get it there. Yeah, man, it is really. I don't I don't even understand it sometimes. Especially later Mignola. You know, he'll have a tree, and then I'll have a bush behind that that's solid black that pushes the tree forward, but it's all readable, and I'm like, I would have never made that call ever. Like my brain doesn't even work that way. But I look at it like, even if you can get a little bit of it like into your work, you know, maybe it doesn't look like Mignola, but like the concept is the same. I bought a John Buscema page recently, a couple weeks ago at Baltimore Comic Con, and it's one of those deals where you're like, well, you know, maybe if you get real close to it, it's not as impressive as it looks. It's more impressive. Like the brushwork for this Conan stuff that he did was just, it was so effortless and perfect. But it definitely helps to learn looking at that stuff up close. They make it look easy, but yeah, I know it's. I think eventually, yeah, we all get there, or wherever. We get somewhere where, like, we can make sense out of any space, or most spaces, because we've done, you know, hundreds or thousands of pages, and eventually it's just, you know, which is how you approach. But man, I can't wait to get there, instead of having to labor over layering things and then making a mistake, but that's all part of the process, I guess. Actually, you know, another really great example of that is Jay Lee stuff. Like his gunslinger stuff. Sort of when he came back and started doing the gunslinger stuff. Like his control of blacks is just incredible. Hey, thanks for popping in. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Alrighty, so I'm going to, actually, I really want to make sure I get the blacks down here working, so I want to do a little bit, just a little bit more. Again, I'm being very loose with this water, you can tell, but sometimes it's good to know how loose you can be with something and have it still look like what it's supposed to. And this is like late at night water kind of thing, so should be quite a bit of black. Yeah, I really do try to continue to draw with a brush. I know that sounds kind of trite, or cliche I should say, but it is what I try to do. Since I'm the penciler on it, I'm just continuing the drawing instead of just trying to make all of my pencil lines black. When you're drawing, you're not, you try to get down as much as you can, but you can't get everything down. So as you're going along inking, you see places where, oh, you know what, I should have done a little pencil here, I should have done a little bit of detail there. I definitely use blue line as a guide. I don't try to recreate it. Probably won't be able to finish this today, but the next go around I will be giving this away to whoever's in the chat, so stick around. There's nothing very straight in this whole drawing because it's an old Massachusetts town, so the buildings are sort of dilapidated. The characters are definitely asymmetrical and odd, so everything is just a little wonky, which just makes it very very easy with a brush. I don't have to pull out a ruler, I don't have to really worry too much about that. can't put too much detail in this guy here, so I just gotta make sure it reads, and then I just gotta leave it alone. You don't want it to read as a bunch of gray. I'm not gonna lie, I've been to Massachusetts more than a few times. I haven't really run into any fish people, but I kind of feel like it would make it a little more interesting. I would definitely visit a town if I knew that there was weird fish people everywhere. Sky, I think I'm gonna go pretty, I might even go solid black or try to do a dry brush thing in the background for the sky. We'll see. Again, that's something I wanted to experiment with. I don't really do dry brush or anything like that, or splatter in my comic, so I figured maybe I'll try a little bit of that here. I don't know what it is about drawing ugly characters. It's just fun. I don't know if it's because you don't have to adhere to the symmetry and be very perfect with it. I wonder if it has anything to do with how actors always say it's really fun playing a villain. I don't know. But man, it's fun drawing just ugly characters. Not necessarily gross, but ugly. I've mentioned this before, but I have a hard time with gross. I don't know if I'll ever... I mean, I shouldn't say that. I may have a gross looking character one of these days, but I'm more about freaky or weird or creepy, but I don't like gross. Kind of freaks me out, so I think kind of stay away from that. So this actually turned out really well. This like the bottom part of his pants with the shadow and of his hand, that actually turned out pretty well. I shouldn't say that with a surprise. But again, this is an experiment. I'm playing it fast and loose. So, just want to see what works. cut out a little bit early today. Usually I do an hour for these, but I might only be able to do 45 minutes. See how far I get. Not that there's a appropriate time for Lovecraft, but it's fall, Halloween. It's more appropriate than usual, I would say. There's actually a story called The Minister's Black Veil. One of my favorite stories. It's definitely weird fiction, predates Lovecraft. It's a story that I think about whenever I'm doing Horace H. Hoover sometimes. It's basically, the short version of it is a minister wakes up one day and essentially just in a small town. He starts walking around and goes to church with like a veil on his face. And people are, what the heck is that? At first they think it's a joke. They don't know what he's doing. And he won't take it off. And it goes from sort of like, almost like humor to just a curiosity to like horror. Like, why won't you take that thing off? And he never takes it off. You don't know in the end why he had it, or really much. You can kind of read between the lines and come up with your own story, but it's definitely vague. And I always think about that for Horace H. Hoover, because in the beginning, it kind of was those three phases for me. So you had Horace H. Hoover wearing a vacuum cleaner on his head, and first thing for me was, oh, that's kind of funny. Kind of made me chuckle, you know? And then it kind of morphed into, oh, that's not funny anymore, but it's interesting. I like the design. It adds something to any kind of scene he's in. And I've tried, and I'm trying to make it cool. And in my head, I've gotten him to cool, and I've gotten the design and everything to that point. There's a show called Angel. It was a spin-off of Buffy. Pretty old. It's like 20 years old. There's a character from Buffy called Wesley. And he was a kind of goofy, not goofy, but he wasn't a serious character. Anyway, on Buffy, he leaves. This is a spin-off of Angel. And then slowly but surely, Wesley starts to become like awesome. Just a really cool character. He just goes really through a big character arc, a meaningful one, and a legitimate one, not a heavy-handed, forced one. And I've always wanted to take a character, at least in the viewer's eyes, through those particular views of a character. So first it's kind of funny, then not so funny, and then the other, like, whoa, he went from Mr. Bean to Clint Eastwood. That's a tall order, I realize, from Mr. Bean to Clint Eastwood, but I think it would be interesting. It's kind of like how not a lot, but there's some TV shows and movies that will basically start where the characters evil almost, and they're killing and they're bad guys, and in the end they end up being redeemed and they're good guys. Now there's again a heavy-handed sort of fake version of that. But then there's the legitimate redemption arc. You know, one of the greatest stories of all time, Christmas Carol, one of the best redemption arcs. So a character can go from one extreme to the other. So definitely added some weight up here with the church. Brought in some blacks. That way we have this heavy stuff down here as far as contrast, and then we have another section up here which is pretty dark. We have him. So as I go around the page, you get a balance. You start to get a balance. And that's really what it is. It's about going around the page, working on piece by piece, and slowly getting the values where they need to be. But doing it so things don't get out of whack. So half of your drawing is totally black and has a bunch of contrast, and the other half doesn't. So you just gotta slowly do that. So I haven't done anything with this building really, which is what I will need to work on now. Because it's definitely, in my head, I'm not sure how to get it to where it needs to go. So I'll start working on it now. Yeah, I'm not gonna worry too much about all of these fire escapes, like each piece of the railing. You know, it's really just about understanding that it is a fire escape. That's really all it is. So as long as you get the basic structure down, some pieces that let you know it's a fire escape. Your eye fills in the rest, especially if you know the story. If you know the story, then that'll have specific meaning. The other thing I do is, whenever I'm drawing a scene, I try to draw it as accurate as possible. So if it's an architectural rendering, I really try to do an architectural rendering as much as possible. I mean, you can't do it for every panel, but if it's a 2-page spread like I have in issue 2, Forrest H. Hoover, if it's a particular building or something that I really want to make sure is accurate, I pencil it extremely accurately, probably more than I need to, and then when it goes to inking, then I'll let myself sort of play with the lines a little bit as I need to, but having that original structure, that accurate original structure, really helps, because you know how far off you're going, and as opposed to you're way off and you don't realize it until you look at the page again and you realize, wow, I wanted to lean that house to the right, but now it looks like it's falling over. But if that house is accurately drawn first, then you know whenever you're leaning that wall, how far you're leaning it in relation to the actual accurate perspective. So that's what I did with this. When I drew it originally, it was all pretty accurate. So now that I'm inking, I can definitely just play around with it. Like with the siding, I don't have to follow any of the lines really, because siding, old wood siding like this, it goes everywhere. It does not stay exactly straight, that's for sure. I could have done the fire escape with a Micron pen or something like that, but again, I don't want it to look very perfect because the scene, basically everything else is gonna be off, gonna be leaning, it's gonna be falling down, it's gonna be asymmetrical. So I didn't want to essentially have this very beautifully straight building in the middle of this kind of crazy scene. Everything should look off because it is the whole town. It's not just like a few people of the town. It's literally everybody. So the town is definitely a character and a malevolent force. So making the buildings old and creepy too definitely helps. Yeah, I think I will be doing a lot of dry brushing on the siding. It's really the fastest way to make it look like it's got dirt and it's not just pure white. Outside of doing a wash or something. Alright, looks like it's 45 minutes. It's a little shorter than I usually do, but it's a Friday night, so there's things going on. Yeah, so we'll just kind of do a recap of it real quick. So we have Shadow over Innsmouth, and we have sort of a church. It's where they hang out. We have some people in the back. This is representative, essentially, of the town. We have a building over here, which is the hotel that he escapes from. We have sort of their high priestess guy. And we have a couple of characters that are lording over this main character in the water. Have a little montage kind of feel to it. Like a movie poster or something like that. Yeah, so I will pick this up some other evening. Just watch YouTube for that. Get a notification, because I will be raffling this off, giving it away whenever I'm done with it, and I'm not sure which stream that'll be exactly. So be sure to pop in and watch. All right, thanks a lot. Hey, Captain Goodnight. Looking great. Really like those buildings. Thank you. I was about to sign off here. I'll hang on for another 2 minutes, though. Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Friday nights are always busy. People are out doing things, especially during Halloween. Yeah, I might do like a wash on this. We'll see though. I don't want to see how this actually turns out. Just black and white with some dry brush and some the usuals. But watercolor might look good. Just like a real kind of muddy tone of everything. might look really nice with just a little hint of color. So we'll see. Alright. Bought a bunch of extra HHH issues to give away at Halloween and drop in little free libraries. Hope it gets you some new readers. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I really love the idea of giving away comics for Halloween and those libraries, those little lending libraries. Such a cool idea. Thank you so much, Captain Goodnight. I really appreciate that. Yeah, Halloween is such a great time to get people into certain books. School started, and it's a good time. And I'll do a little more detail here. It's funny, I never really use the word detail very often. When you're doing the drawing, it just feels all the same. Whether you're doing a tiny little rock or a big part of a character, it's all descriptive. So you're adding form or texture to a character. So I rarely use the word detail, but it's funny. I know a lot of people do. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I just mentally, I never think of it that way. I would love to do a Halloween special for Horace H. Hoover. Very, very much in the line of the Simpsons Halloween stuff. I always loved their stuff. Admittedly, I haven't watched the Simpsons in a decade or two, but I used to really like the Halloween episodes. Alrighty, I think I'm good. It's a good place to stop. Alrighty, yeah, started to rough in the sky. That looks like it's going to be pretty solid too. Alright. Yeah, thanks again, everybody. I appreciate it. Captain Goodnight, Nick, anybody else that's watching, thanks for tuning in. I will be giving this away to whoever's in the chat whenever I finish it. I'm not sure when that's going to be. Over the next week or so, I should be able to finish it up, I'm sure. So Don't forget to like and subscribe so you get notifications that I'm working on it, so you can maybe win this thing. Yeah, thanks again. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.